Welcome to today's Tea Time audio story. It's time to slow down, take a deep breath, and enjoy a moment just for you. As you sip your favorite tea, let your mind drift into the world of stories, where imagination comes alive and anything is possible. Listening to audio stories isn't just entertaining, it's also a wonderful way to relax, spark creativity, and improve your English in a natural and enjoyable way. Stories have the power to transport us to far-off places, introduce us to new characters, and remind us of life's little lessons. So whether you're here to unwind, learn something new, or simply enjoy a quiet escape, this is your time. Get comfortable, let your worries melt away, and allow today's story to take you on a journey. Let the magic begin. Paris, in the early hours of the morning, had its own rhythm. The city stretched and yawned awake, shaking off the remnants of sleep as the first lights flickered in the windows of cafes and bakeries. The crisp autumn air carried the scent of fresh bread, cinnamon, and caramelized sugar, a silent promise of warmth to anyone who ventured out. Inside Le Petit Délice, Elise was already immersed in her morning routine, hands deep in a bowl of dough. The comforting press and pull of kneading had always soothed her, each movement familiar as breathing. The bakery was her sanctuary, and here, amidst the scent of butter and vanilla, she felt truly alive. But today was different. Today, she had an unexpected visitor. Adrien Laurent stood in the doorway, looking more uncertain than she had ever seen him. Gone was the usual crisp perfection of his tailored suits. Instead, he wore a simple button-down with the sleeves rolled up, the top undone just enough to hint at the casualness he was attempting to embrace. His expression, however, remained carefully neutral. "You're early," Elise observed, wiping her hands on her apron. Adrien glanced at his watch. "You said baking was therapeutic. I figured I'd test your theory." She raised an eyebrow, half amused, half intrigued. "You actually want to bake?" He exhaled, as if already regretting his decision. "I'd like to see what the fuss is about." Elise smirked. "Well, Monsieur Laurent, welcome to the world of flour and patience." He folded his arms. "I already regret this." "Too late." She handed him an apron, grinning. "Now, roll up your sleeves. You're about to get messy." For the first few minutes, Adrien stood awkwardly beside her, watching as she measured ingredients with practiced ease. The warmth of the kitchen, the scent of rising dough, and the faint melody of French music playing from the radio created a world completely separate from the one he was used to. "All right," Elise said, pushing a bowl toward him. "Start mixing." Adrien eyed the flour, eggs, and sugar suspiciously. "With what?" She laughed. "Your hands." He hesitated, looking almost affronted at the idea of plunging his hands into something so unclean. "You don't have a machine for this." Elise rolled her eyes. "Baking is about connection. Machines don't feel the dough." He muttered something about the inefficiency of it all but, with a sigh, did as he was told. The moment his hands met the sticky mixture, he grimaced. "This feels terrible." Elise burst into laughter. "You should see your face." Adrien glared at her, but there was no real annoyance in his expression, just mild suffering. He continued kneading, albeit clumsily, while Elise worked beside him, effortlessly shaping dough into perfect rounds. Minutes passed, the silence between them settling into something comfortable. "You actually enjoy this," Adrien remarked after a while, watching as she effortlessly formed a perfect ball of dough. She nodded. "It's not just about baking. It's about creating something with your own hands." There's a kind of magic in that. Adrian, for the first time, tried to see it from her perspective. The rhythm of meeting, the scent of warm butter, the transformation of simple ingredients into something beautiful. He had spent so much of his life chasing things that were intangible: power, success, ambition. Here, in this tiny bakery, everything was tangible, immediate. It was grounding. He glanced at Elise, noticing the small smile on her lips as she worked. There was something different about her when she baked, something free, unguarded. And for reasons he didn't entirely understand, he found himself wanting to know more about her. Their morning lesson continued with Elise guiding him through shaping the dough. Adrian's first attempt was disastrous. His croissants looked more like deflated pillows than elegant pastries. She laughed, shaking her head. "This is a crime against French baking." Adrian groaned. "You make it look too easy." "It's all about patience." She reached over, gently reshaping one of his failed attempts. Her fingers brushed against his, light as a whisper, and for a split second, the world outside the bakery seemed to fade. Adrian looked at her, something unreadable in his expression. Elise hesitated, her breath catching. Then, just as quickly, she pulled back, returning her focus to the pastries. But the moment lingered. Neither of them acknowledged it. By the time the first batch of croissants went into the oven, Adrian was dusted with flour, his usually pristine presence completely undone. Elise smirked, reaching out to wipe a smudge of flour from his cheek before he could protest. "There," she said. "Now you officially look like a baker." He exhaled, shaking his head. "I don't think I'll be quitting my job anytime soon." "No," she agreed. "But you did better than I expected." Adrian tilted his head, a slow smile forming. "That almost sounds like a compliment." "Don't get used to it." They waited in silence as the pastries baked, the golden aroma filling the space between them. Adrian leaned against the counter, watching as Elise prepared coffee. "This place," he said after a moment, "it suits you." She looked at him curiously. "What do you mean?" "You belong here," he said simply. "You built something for yourself. Not many people get to do that." She considered his words, a small smile tugging at her lips. "And what about you?" He hesitated. "What about me? Do you belong where you are?" The question hung between them, heavier than it should have been. Adrian opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time in a long time, he didn't have an answer. Before he could respond, the oven timer dinged, breaking the moment. Elise turned to pull the tray out, her expression unreadable. Adrian exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. Something about this morning had shifted things between them. He wasn't sure what it meant, but for the first time in years, he found himself in no rush to leave. Perhaps, he realized, he would be coming back to Le Petit Délice more often than he had planned. Thank you for joining today's Tea Time story. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of imagination and storytelling. Whether it made you smile, sparked a new thought, or simply gave you a moment to relax, we're grateful to have shared this time with you. Thank you for listening and being part of our story time. Keep dreaming, keep imagining, and we'll see you again for another magical tale soon. Until next time, take care and happy listening.